What's up everybody, welcome to today's video. Hope you're having an amazing day so far. I'm your host Phil, and today's video we're going to check out the Elgato Facecam Mk.2 and also compare it quickly against the Logitech StreamCam. But first, let's roll that intro clip. Thank you for tuning in today's video, I highly appreciate it. Usually I do guitar related product reviews and tutorials on this channel, but today's video is something a little bit different. I want to showcase the Elgato Facecam Mk.2 because it's an essential part of doing my YouTube videos over here and give you a quick comparison against the camera which I used before that, the Logitech StreamCam. So the Logitech StreamCam has served me pretty well the last 3 years, where I have used it on a lot of different YouTube videos. I still use it regularly as a B camera basically. However, I wanted to upgrade my image quality of my YouTube videos because this is getting more and more serious. I'm not, I'm super far away from this being like more anything else than a hobby, but I just want to get a little bit more of a better, camera setup. However, I did not want to sacrifice the ease of use of using webcams because I didn't want to buy an Elgato Cam Link and then buy a mirrorless, set this up, find the right stand for that, make sure that it's not wobbly, and all of that stuff. So I didn't want to kind of go into that world yet. This might change in the future. However, I was looking then also on a very low budget, like 150 euros on the market, what options I got out there, and that's when exactly the Elgato Mk.2 has been released. So I had to take the plunge. I bought one of those, and yeah, that's exactly what you're seeing over here. And to be very honest with you, I think this is a pretty decent image quality. Of course, we're still talking about a webcam. Of course, we're not getting mirrorless camera quality. It would be so out of touch to tell you anything different because it's so obvious what you're getting. But what I'm getting over here for what I'm doing, like hobbyist YouTube videos, this works pretty well in my opinion. Now, what is the Facecam Mk.2? What is it all about? What is its specs? The Elgato Facecam Mk.2 is a 1080p 60 frames per second uncompressed when using USB 3 webcam, which is right in the mid-tier budget, I would say. 150 to 120 euros is what you pay. It's currently on sale for 120 euros or 119 euros actually on Elgato's webpage. So yeah, it's a pretty decently priced webcam for what it features. It has a starvis sensor, which are, famed in webcams to handle low light situations pretty good. The Elgato Facecam Pro and the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra both have such, like starvis Sony sensors. And yeah, as you can see, I got a pretty low light situation over here, which it handles very decently. We're going to see that in the comparison against the StreamCam from Logitech at a later point in the video. But yeah, it offers also some cool other gimmicky features, which I find personally like HDR. So you get the high definition range. You can play a little bit around with that. And however, what I really like about Elgato webcams is the software which come with it. Alright, I now got the Elgato Camera Hub software opened over here. So let's check out the different features which we're getting. We're going to walk through all of the features over here. So we got the input selector first, where you can select any kind of Elgato Facecam or Elgato webcam basically, which you got over here. The format is also shown over here as 1080p 60 frames per second uncompressed. So this is cool if you want to do some extended video editing stuff. The uncompressed format is better than MPEG, which is being used when you connect this via USB 2. So, however, I'm not really into that stuff. Basically, I just use whatever I got available, and in this case it's a USB 3 port, and therefore I get uncompressed. As I said, I'm just a dude in his man cave making stupid YouTube videos, so who am I? Over here on the frame section, we can set up the angle which we're getting, and then we can basically zoom into my wonderful face over here. So we can do like this, and then I can do like that. And then we can zoom out of this. If we zoom in on my hideous face, then we can do some face tracking over here, which will then follow my face. And this can be interesting for streamers where you want to have, a little bit of face tracking when you're moving yourself. It's a little bit stuttery, as you can see, so it's not the best in the world. However, it does the job, kind of. So face tracking, we got it. Next up, we have some presets for zooming in. I'm just going to showcase the normal presets. You can change them and save them. I'm not going to do that over here. So we can set preset A is the regular one, then a little bit closer, and then a little bit higher. So that's what you're getting over here with these presets. You can set them to whatever you like. I'm going to go back to the default setting. Next up, we got the picture-related stuff, contrast, saturation, sharpness. On sharpness, you have to be a little bit careful because, setting it too soft, blurs out things a little bit. I'm getting a little bit out of focus because this is a fixed focus lens and you're just using the sharpness effect onto it. This softens the picture a little bit and it also reduces the noise a little bit, but using the sharpness gives you a little bit more texture, more detail, and so on and so forth. It's a compromise somewhere. I'm just going to set it around 70. Somewhere around that ballpark is where I think there's a good, good trade-off between getting a lot of details, but also, as you can see that on my pullover over here, getting more noise. It's the nature of what it is. You have to make some compromises on that one. When it comes to saturation, yeah, it is what it is. I know I'm the orange goblin monster, and now I'm basically playing in a Charlie Chaplin movie, so I gotta set it somewhere in between. And then on the contrast, you can basically make me a little bit bland color wise or set the contrast very high. I think it looks best when using the full contrast. That way I'm getting more detailed. The key light is working better, the hair light is working better. Those elements are then coming more to fruition and looking better in my personal opinion, but your mileage may vary. You may have other, ideals of what a good picture looks like. Next up, we got exposure. You can set this to either automatic or set this to the manual setup. And let's set this first to automatic. Let's see what that looks like. My face is a little bit too washed over, too overexposed. However, this is still a good setting. Absolutely no problem with that. I do like this a little bit more, even though it looks a little bit darker. You can set up the metering. If you set it to automatic, you can set it center weighted, or you can set it to a spot. That way you're getting like a very nice, actually a very nice compromise between what I was initially going for and, what the automatic stuff is doing. However, when I come closer or have my, you can see that it, it flickers a little bit, it pumps a little bit. That's what I don't like about this stuff. I don't like when it automatically pumps and flickers. That's also why I'm a big fan, actually, of the fixed lens over here. So I just like to set it to the manual setup and then have everything set up to my likings over here. I set the shutter speed to 60 because when it comes to webcams, it often makes sense to set the shutter speed to the frames per second, which you want to achieve in the end. When you're having mirrorless cameras, what I always read is you have to double that number. So this is what I did, going with 60, with a shutter speed of 60. When I go to 120, this is by far too dark, and you can also see there's a substantial noise building up everywhere where it's dark. So 60 is, in my opinion, the optimal compromise for this over here. I'm gonna go over to another resolution, because sometimes when setting up things over here on the shutter speed, the camera has a little bit of a hard time catching up. You're gonna perhaps see this also when we change the dynamic range, and then you have to play a little bit around with the preview format so that it kind of catches back onto what you had before. ISO, self-explanatory, we can set this down. Therefore, we're getting very less noise, but an incredibly dark picture, but we're still getting noise. So, and then we can also go ahead and totally overexpose me. So yeah, it doesn't look that good, right? So let's go over here to 341 where I had it before. I was pretty happy with that, what we set up over here. Now, dynamic range. Everybody's talking about dynamic range. Oh, low light situations, use dynamic range. High light situations, use dynamic range. I think that the dynamic range over here looks totally garbage-like. Let's check this out. Checking out the high. I look like a teddy monster over here. What is this supposed to look like? I don't understand it. I don't get this mode. It looks stupid, especially my face is totally blurred out, totally softened up. It does not look good at all. Maybe there are some situations where this might look good, and to be honest, this has a very smooth picture. So if you are after that, then this might be yours, but I think I look like a stupid Furby monster or something. So that's nothing which I would take into account. And that's what I mean when it comes to, you know, how the camera catches on. You can see this over here. This is now a little bit slower, everything a little bit overexposed. So I have to go ahead and set the exposure again to automatic and then back to the manual setup in order for the camera to catch onto my manual setting. So just be aware of that. Yeah, when changing the dynamic range, you eventually also have to set the exposure toggling on or off so that you get your image quality which you set up back. White balance, yeah, automatic. Let's set this automatic. Yep, this looks actually pretty good. This is a little bit pale compared to the setup which I have, but this has a little bit less noise on this over here. So overall, I could easily live with that. This looks really good in my opinion. I do like the automatic setup where this is a little bit more in that orange realm. I could play around with setting that a little bit colder, but to be honest, when I set the automatic setup, it looks really good. Let's leave this for now, because I think this is a pretty realistic image of how I look like when I'm a little bit more of a red orangish tone would be what I would go for, but this looks fairly good. Okay. Processing, noise reduction. Noise reduction is an important thing, and one of the really strong features of this camera has a really good noise reduction in my opinion. Let's turn this off. You can see now that over here at the door there's a substantial amount of noise, and also over here on this guitar cabinet in this corner there's a lot of noise going on. And now just look at those different places, and I'm gonna set this now to light. So this is a little bit better. Medium is a good chunk better. There's still a little bit of noise. And then when it comes to high, it has more noise reduction. However, it loses too much detail, in my opinion, on my facial details over here. So look over here at this part of my face. This is now a little bit more detailed when I set this up to medium. So that's what I'm going to go for, because it's all about finding the perfect compromise. Next up, we got effects over here, where you can set up either mirroring the picture, or you can flip it. Wow, that looks strange. Or you can flip it. Hello. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. And then you got the AI background stuff. It's just, you know, it's just toy stuff. You know, like the blur function. This works maybe for an office environment if you don't want to let people know that you have like guitars in the background and stuff like that. But this has nothing to do with a true realistic bokeh effect. So, but you know, it still works. And you know, the catching my hands, catching my you know, details over here, that works pretty good. And over time, this is just gonna get better. So I could imagine that in a few years, webcams do have like realistic artificial bokeh effects. And yeah, I'm really curious to what the future is going to bring, because this recognition of faces, of forms is going to get better and better over time. So, you know, like over here, oh, wait a minute, over here, you can see that the chair is then also highlighted and sharp, you know, but it is what it is. And then you got those nice little things like, hey, I'm in this fancy office over here. No, you're not. So let's turn this off. Next up, we got this super weird thing, which is called AR effects and eye contact. I have no idea what this is, but look at me now. I'm looking now over there, and I'll turn this on. This is super weird. I don't know what to do with this. So this is basically like looking always into the camera, and you know, wherever I move my head around, I'm actually now looking at the monitor over here, but yeah, weird. I have no idea why anybody would use this effect over here, but it's there. Yeah, overall, the Camera Hub is a really good piece of software, really strong, a lot of cool features, makes your image looking pretty good in my opinion. Of course, given that you have a little bit of light as I have over here, but I'm pretty satisfied. So this is in a particular very low light setup. I only got the ceiling light turned on and nothing else. So all the other lights are turned off. This is now, however, in the early winter morning, so there's a little bit of light reflecting through the window over here, just that you are aware. The other recordings were done yesterday, nighttime, total pitch black, darkness outside. So this is what we are getting over here. You can see a little bit that ceiling light is coming from here. However, you can see a lot of noise build up over here, specifically on the wall behind me. Yeah, but still, I find that the image quality is somewhat acceptable, in that way that you have like a lot of details in my face still showing up, based off the fact that we are looking at a webcam and this is a very low light situation. What you can now do in order to enhance that further, you could try to do stuff with the noise reduction. However, I personally find that it barely makes any difference in this type of scenario. So I'm just going to leave it at medium. You can work around with the automatic exposure. That already does a lot. However, you're then getting some pretty nasty noise going on over here in this region. So just be aware. But this would be definitely passable for doing some, webcam conferencing. So if this is like your only thing what you're doing, then that would be absolutely acceptable. However, you can already see that there's quite some pumping going on with the automatic exposure. So if we would set this to an average, then maybe that's a little bit calmer. However, what you now can also try out is to set the dynamic range to high. This smoothens out the picture a little bit, and I think this is where the high dynamic range comes into play. However, to be honest, I don't think that that's really, like an acceptable quality picture when we compare it to turning all the lights on, which I'm gonna do just right now. So this is the image quality like we had it yesterday, except for a little bit of the light coming from the window over here. But, this is basically my regular setup over here, except for that I placed the camera somewhere different in the room, but that's a different story. So I think this is a super stark contrast to what we had before, and this looks infinitely better. So some people say that comparison is the thief of joy. I have a totally different opinion of that, especially when the comparison is as obvious as it is over here. Now look at this over here. On the left side, you can see the Elgato Facecam Mk.2, and on the right side, you can see the Logitech StreamCam. So this over here is the Elgato, this over here is the Logitech. Now, by all means, the Logitech does not look bad, but it's like super washed over, super, glossy, everything. It doesn't have that much apparent noise when you look at it, so that looks actually pretty good, but the image quality is much clearer and much more realistic on the Elgato Facecam Mk.2. It's not even a realistic comparison, so I'm looking all the time at that corner because that's where the screen is. Now I set this up in the middle, so it's so obvious, especially if you look at my face over here, you can see a lot of noise, and through overexposure, especially at this point over here on the Logitech side, and on the Elgato Mk.2, it's pretty smooth, to be honest. Given that we're looking through a webcam, you always have to take that into consideration. What are we actually looking at? And yeah, man, to me, this is night and day, and this is exactly the reason why I bought the Elgato Facecam Mk.2, because I knew that it can live in this low light situations, which I got over here really well. I only have time to do those videos mostly at nighttime, so you gotta work with what you have, and this is awesome. This is awesome. This is not so awesome, but this still is sufficient for a lot of B camera stuff. Like if I play guitar, normally camera A is over there in the corner, like over there, and then the camera B is over there, looking from up below. So that's how I set up my camera stuff over here. This looks actually pretty cool, and man, looking at this, I might consider getting a second Elgato Facecam Mk.2 just to look at me from the front and then one from the side. Maybe there's a lot of ideas which I have around here, but this is the comparison which I got over here. Now, granted, this is the best which I could get out of both cameras. So we're talking about adding a few very subtle LUTs on both the Elgato Facecam Mk.2 as well as the Logitech camera. So this is just plain simply the best I can get out of each of those webcams. Let's wrap up this video with my closing thoughts and my conclusion. Now, I can say with confidence that I have absolutely zero buyer's remorse buying the Elgato Facecam Mk.2. I think it's an awesome purchase from my side, and I think that the price to value ratio is absolutely outstanding with this camera. I really like the image quality which I'm getting over here. I can easily live with the noise which I'm getting overall, so that's absolutely fantastic in that regard. I have no complaints so far. My final conclusion is, hey, go get one. If you are in for the market for a mid-tier webcam, then this is exactly what you want to get. Of course, it's not going to offer the mirrorless DSLR camera quality, not the nice bokeh effect, but it also doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. With that out of the way, I want to thank you all for joining me on today's video. This is something which I usually don't do on the channel. I don't usually do like tech reviews, review stuff, which is outside the guitar and musician realm. So, thank you everybody for watching this video. I am thinking about doing more of these tutorials where I'm just, explaining how I do stuff here on YouTube. Like what camera am I using? How did I set it up? That's what we did in this video. What microphone am I using? What plugins am I using in Reaper? How do I get Reaper into OBS? Stuff like that I'm thinking about actually making more content on, because I think it's a cool thing to empower other people to create content and to kind of express themselves. I think that's a very important factor. It has really enhanced my life so far. So yeah, that's something which I'm thinking about. Let me know what you think about me doing such videos. Would you enjoy that? Do you like my presentation style? My approach to trying to educate you on what I do and why I do the things? Let me know down below in the comments. Let's engage a little bit in a discussion, and hopefully gonna see you on the next video. And until then, keep it metal.